U.S. President Donald Trump rolled out the red carpet Tuesday for Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. In his first White House visit in more than 7 years, Saudi Arabia's de facto ruler sought to further rehabilitate his global image after the 2018 killing of U.S.-based journalist Jamal Khashoggi, while deepening ties with Washington. During questions in the Oval Office, Trump defended bin Salman on the topic.
A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen, but he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that.
That effectively contradicts the conclusions of U.S. intelligence agencies, who concluded that bin Salman approved the capture or killing of Khashoggi. Bin Salman has denied ordering the operation, but acknowledged responsibility as the kingdom's de facto ruler. He also addressed the killing to reporters on Tuesday.
We've improved our system to be sure that nothing happened like that, and it's painful and it's a huge mistake, and we are doing our best that this doesn't happen again.
Topics discussed between the two leaders included security ties, civil nuclear cooperation, and multi-billion-dollar business deals with the kingdom. Trump announced an agreement that Saudi Arabia would invest $600 billion in the United States, while the Saudi Crown Prince promised to up that investment to $1 trillion. It all underscores how much of a priority Trump has made of ties with Saudi Arabia, as uproar over Khashoggi fades. Andrew Lieber is a political science assistant professor at Tulane University.
I think the Trump administration is much more transactional with respect to Saudi Arabia. As with the first term for President Trump, there's really no emphasis on human rights. So that's much less of an obstacle for this relationship.
Trump also said on Tuesday that the U.S. would sell F-35 stealth fighter jets to Saudi Arabia, in a similar arrangement it has with Israel, in what Trump described as a defense agreement. The move marks a significant policy shift, which could alter the military balance in the Middle East.
Leaning on crutches and adjusting artificial limbs laid out on the touchline, dozens of Palestinian amputees gathered in central Gaza on Monday for a soccer tournament in the name of hope, dreams and the love of the sport. According to the organisers, some of the players lost limbs as a result of Israeli fire during the latest war in Gaza. Fadi Abu Amana is the technical manager of the Palestinian national amputee soccer team.
This championship comes under the title Hope, to cultivate hope again in gradual return of the sports life in general, and of the sports life of amputee athletes in particular. This championship brings together more than 50 amputee players, male adults, and more than 10 children of both genders. The championship will be organised of several matches, and a prize will be awarded to the winning team at the end of the championship.
According to a Gaza Health Ministry statement from earlier this month, 6,000 amputation cases requiring urgent long-term rehabilitation programs were registered during the war. Anas al-Mabhou has joined the Deir al-Balah amputee team after sustaining an injury during the war's early days. He says he aspires to represent Palestine and the national team in countries abroad and to play against other national teams, living his life like everyone else.
South Africa will host the first G20 summit ever held on African soil, but hopes for a strong declaration on climate and debt relief for developing nations are slim. Geopolitical tensions are high, and US President Donald Trump is boycotting the meeting. Washington has rejected South Africa's agenda of promoting global solidarity and helping developing nations adapt to worsening climate shocks, transition to clean energy, and to ease debt burdens. That may hamper the summit, but leaders could still find common ground. Here's Johannes Bell, Director of the Disaster Management and Education Training Centre for Africa at the University of the Free State.
If they are not coming into the party, that is where the G20 may have some sort of a limping leg. But that does not mean the rest of the parties, the rest of 190-something countries in the world cannot come together and decide on how to move the planet forward.
South Africa's priorities include preparing for climate-induced disasters and mobilising finance for clean energy transition. As Busisipo Siobi, public policy researcher at Good Governance Africa, says, with 600 million Africans lacking electricity, it's about making sure they benefit from the global race for critical minerals.
The real question now really goes around how do we ensure that the people on the continent are benefiting from these minerals, and how are they serving the current energy crises that we have, respectively, within the continent.
The summit will be held in Soweto, a suburb of Johannesburg, infamous under apartheid as a community for black South Africans barred from living in the city itself. Even before President Trump returned to the White House, there were divisions among G20 members over sharing the cost of climate action. Trump further raised tensions with South Africa by repeating debunked claims about white South Africans being slaughtered and driven off their land. Other absentees include Argentina's Javier Milei and China's Xi Jinping. But Trump's absence is not necessarily a bad thing, says political analyst Payet Krukamp.
Look, Trump not coming to South Africa may be the best thing that could happen to the G20. Imagine him or even J.D. Vance getting up on the stage here and do what Vance has done in Europe when he arrived there and insulted each and every foreign leader sitting in that room. And that's exactly what they would have done coming here. It would have been chaos.
The summit is set for Saturday and Sunday, and with the US scheduled to chair the next G20 summit, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa quipped he would hand the G20 presidency to an empty chair.
Growth in US markets helped Klarna achieve a 26% jump in third-quarter revenue. It beat expectations for the Swedish fintech's first report as a public company. Klarna also forecast revenue above $1 billion in the current quarter. The buy now, pay later lender went public in September in New York. On Tuesday, it reported revenue of $903 million. Klarna was an early adopter of AI and used the technology to help customers and merchants cut jobs, create marketing campaigns, and improve products. However, the firm's CEO expressed some nervousness this week about the huge spending on building data centers. Tech companies have announced massive spending plans this year for building data centers as they expect AI to fuel demand. Klarna's gross merchandise volume, a commonly used e-commerce metric for measuring sales, rose 23% to $32.7 billion in the quarter, and active customers rose just under a third to 114 million from a year ago.
An outage at Cloudflare cut off access to several major websites, including X and ChatGPT, for thousands of users around the world on Tuesday. Cloudflare runs one of the world's largest networks, handling around 1/5 of web traffic. The company said it started to investigate the outage around 6:40 a.m. Eastern and deployed a fix, but said some customers might still be impacted as it recovers service. The incident marked the latest hit to major online services. An outage of Amazon's cloud service last month caused turmoil as thousands of popular websites and apps, including Snapchat and Reddit, were inaccessible. Cloudflare's network helps websites and apps load faster and stay online by protecting them from traffic surges and cyber attacks. It said there was no evidence that the outage was the result of an attack or malicious activity, and that the root cause was an automatically generated configuration file for managing threat traffic. Elon Musk's X and ChatGPT creator OpenAI did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Cloudflare shares fell as much as 7% in morning trading.
In addition to victims of this war, a lot of people died, but also we have our nature, we have our environmental ecosystem, and it's like silent victim of this war. So a lot of damage was caused to water, to land, to forests, and we have huge amounts of additional CO2 emissions and greenhouse gases. We are trying to identify the legal approaches, legal mechanism, how we could make Russia accountable for all this damage. So basically, we already started this job, and I believe it's a matter not only by Ukraine, because the consequences of these damages goes far beyond Ukraine.
Microsoft Windows is celebrating its 40th birthday. Under co-founder Bill Gates, Microsoft released Windows 1.0 on November the 20th, 1985. And now the operating system is on its 11th version, Windows 11. Expert Dan Ives said we wouldn't be here if Windows hadn't been developed back in the 80s.
Microsoft is the foundation of this economy, of everything that we see that consumers and enterprises do. You look at Windows, that was a watershed moment that changes the way that we live lives today.
Despite 10 years of innovation, the Computer History Museum's Mark Webber said, it was Windows 95 that became the world standard of computing.
Considering Windows is the biggest personal computer operating system in the world, I think it's hugely significant.
He added that 95 and beyond helped pioneer a new platform for gaming developers. Like many tech companies across the globe, the Washington-based software maker has boosted its operating systems with a series of AI upgrades. Last month, Microsoft added new features to its Copilot AI assistant to ease task automation and connection with services across devices.